So with that, welcome to What's New in Autodesk Construction Cloud. These are the January 2026 updates. Our presenters today are our construction engagement engineers, Lisa Stine and Alan DeLuce. So Alan, I'm going to go ahead and hand the floor over to you.
All right, I'll actually take it first, Lori.
Okay.
Thanks so much for the intro. And yeah, we're super excited to have all of you on the call today. As Lori mentioned, you have Alan and Lisa here today. So a little bit of an introduction of myself, and then I'll hand it over to Alan to do his. My name is Lisa Stine. I am a construction engagement here at IMAGINiT. I've been here for about a year now, but I'm coming here from about 7 years at Autodesk, probably most relevant to our conversation today. Spent a number of those years as a technical solutions executive on the construction side of the business. And then previous to my time at Autodesk, spent about 8 years as a licensed structural engineer working in construction, specifically electric utilities. And I am about an hour north of Denver in Fort Collins, Colorado. And Alan, I'll hand it to you.
Thanks, Lisa. My name is Alan DeLuce. I work, Lisa and I are in the same team, the construction engagement team. I've been in this industry for 20 years on various sides of the industry, design, consulting, and then in BIM and VDC management in construction. I'm in Indianapolis, and yeah, so we're on the same team. We get to meet with a lot of you, and by all means, if there's any questions about anything we talk about today, and please, if you would, chime in, drop those questions in the chat or wherever, and we'll follow up with those here at the end.
Super. Okay, so just a quick overview or some expectations of our call today. I'm going to talk briefly about what the release overview and cadence looks like for us from IMAGINiT. So we do these calls quite often during the year, so we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to go over the January 2026 releases. There's 3 main categories of those releases that we'll be covering today. We have model management on there that Alan is going to handle. Construction ops, we will be kind of tag teaming that, and then I will go into the releases that pertain specifically to the Autodesk Construction Cloud platform in its entirety, so things like document management, bridge, and then we'll open the floor to Q&A. So let's spend just a couple of seconds here talking about the release overview and cadence. So the Autodesk Construction Cloud essentially unrolls new releases every 2 months. And so we give our presentations at IMAGINiT a couple of weeks after those releases have kind of been communicated from Autodesk to us. That gives us a little bit of time for us to better understand the releases and for us to kind of dive in and get some expertise around them. So while yes, it is February, we're going over the January releases because that's when those releases were officially unveiled. Our next webinar will be in April, and that will be over the March releases. So we have this call every 2 months. Definitely would love to have all of you on every call, and if you can't make it, just sign up for it. You'll get the recording of it after. But attending these webinars, or again, just listening to the recording, that can be a really, really helpful way for you guys to stay in the loop with what's new to the Autodesk Construction Cloud. Having worked there for a number of years, I know that there's a lot of moving parts all the time. So this is a really great way for you to not be, surprised when you hop into the environment and see some new stuff. All right. So we are going to kick it off with the 2026 releases. And Alan, I'm going to hand it over to you for model management.
Thank you, Lisa. All right, as Lisa said, we will start off here with model management, and basically just the model management. If you are familiar with maybe some things that have transpired over the last few months, there's this new model management bundle, various things involved, but ultimately what we're focusing on today is a couple different kind of the ABC Pro, just general model workflows available to us in the ACC. So number one, we're going to focus on the model coordination aspect. So to kick it off, I'm going to highlight this feature. We have some powerful enhancements to model coordination. And what this does is it really gives the administrators, those who are setting things up, it gives you some major efficiencies. These, some of these tasks can be a little bit tedious at the outset. So we can now filter by specific file types and extensions when we're setting up these our coordination spaces. And what this allows us to do is only grab the most relevant information. As we've all dealt with in the past, at some point there could be a lot of different file types and just a lot of general noise in the project. And what this does is just kind of expedite the process and streamline clash detection, configuration, and setup. We're also able to filter across different project folder structures. This lets our teams tailor coordination spaces without the need to restructure existing folders. So you can just kind of leave it as it is, and we can go and search across your folder hierarchy, and it really just aligns better, so we don't have to go and move things around. And ultimately, these filters, they match what is supported in the model coordination for clash detection and model aggregation. And what it does is lets you select, be very selective in your file types and avoid duplicate models, which does occur from time to time. Very, very helpful when we're working kind of in the VDC context, and our trades maybe have duplicate models, maybe from design teams, and then they have their higher LOD models, things like that. Just kind of reduce those concerns. It really just expedites the process for setup and ultimately management in the VDC and clash detection process. All right, next, with model coordination, just general clash performance improvements. So within model coordination, right now, everything, all of our clashes are automatically loaded. And so this information is instantly available to us. And if you've ever worked in a large project with a ton of clash, this can be a problem, right? Just performance issues generally. And so what happens is that can slow us down, and the resolution or the solution that people have come up with is to break out models into smaller subsets. And while that's great, and maybe it's just that more granular approach, that's fine. But if you don't have to do that, having fewer models, less management, keeps things running perhaps more smoothly. And so instead of everything loaded, basically information is only loaded as needed or at that right time, right? So when we upload and we jump into clash detection, only when we open the clash panel in the viewer, that is when the information is loaded. And so ultimately, when you open the model, if nothing will change, actually, if you just have two models selected to clash. However, when you have more than two, that data will not, it will do that on kind of the as needed basis. And again, it just improves performance and speeds up a process where we definitely could see some lag, really kind of expediting the coordination process, which we are all very familiar with, can be very, very tedious. All right.
Okay, so I'll take the next few sections over here. We're going to leave model management and head into construction operations, and we're going to start with project management. And when we talk about project management from the lens of the Autodesk Construction Cloud, we're really looking at providing flexible but still controlled project management workflows that help meet project team needs, really connect your office and your field, and keep all of your projects on track. And so the first release that we're going to talk about for PM workflows is correspondence, or is around correspondence, and it's going to be those filters on the mobile iOS app. So Autodesk has added some powerful new filtering options to that correspondence list on the iOS app. This is closing the gap with web and making it a lot easier for field teams to find what they need, and in a much quicker and more efficient capacity. So now your field users can filter by type, who sent the correspondence, recipient status, the due date, the sent date, if it's something that has attachments, and then only private correspondences. This update is going to support all correspondence users, and it's going to help bring mobile more in line with the web capabilities. It's really designed to help teams quickly surface, more relevant threads to the work that you guys are doing, especially when we have projects that have just high volume of emails and things like that. Filters are really easy to apply. You can combine them, in a search capacity. When you do that, a little red dot is going to appear on the filter icon when those filters are active, and so users can clear all the filters really, really easily, but it also just helps you be aware that there are filters in place. Filters are going to persist when navigating between tools, but they'll reset after a sync or when any kind of a new correspondence has been created. Also important to note, because I think this is top of mind for a lot of people, just around security and safety, permissions are always going to be respected, so users are only going to be able to see the correspondences that they have access to based on their role and then that specific project settings. There was a lot of user feedback both to Autodesk and us at IMAGINiT around this, so this release is in direct response to that feedback. So just another reminder that when you wish something looked differently, to definitely either let your Autodesk representative or someone on the IMAGINiT team know, because that information does get taken over to the development team. Okay. So the next update that we have for project management is around RFIs, and that is the Quick RFI Create. So Quick RFI Create is going to let RFI creators input the details of the RFI that they want to create, and then Autodesk AI is going to populate all relevant fields in the RFI creation form. So I'm going to give a little bit of insight on the actual creation process. So what you'll do is inside of the RFI creation form, you're going to open the AI prompt box, and then all that you have to do is input a descriptive prompt, essentially detailing what your RFI is about. Autodesk AI will then analyze what you wrote, and it's automatically going to populate the relevant fields. So things like the title, the question, the category, the discipline, if there is a cost impact that you're wanting to put in this RFI, if there's a schedule impact, priority, any location details. Fields are going to be populated by AI, and those are highlighted in purple. So it'll be easy to determine what was AI and where you need, maybe what you need to review, because we all remember from school, we always need to go back and check our work, right? So you can edit those responses. After the RFI is created, you can see in the activity log that the RFI was generated using AI, so that'll be noted there. And I do want to note that currently this feature is only available to value-based billed subscription. So if you don't have that subscription type, you're not seeing this yet. But I do believe that it will eventually, or it should soon be available for GA, which means general audience. And I also want to just kind of promote AI at Autodesk. So AI is really, really being heavily utilized at Autodesk in an effort to help you guys save time, to improve, again, in this specific instance, RFI accuracy, and to make your RFI workflow more efficient. Okay, and then that's it for PM. We're going to head over to cost management. Hopefully everyone has an awareness of what cost management means within the Autodesk Construction Cloud, but if not, just kind of a description on what cost means in releases, as it's where we're focused on helping project teams improve cost control, gain visibility of cost-related risks, and then forecast more accurately. So Alan has gotten ahead of me here, but our release for cost management in January is around budget and contract management, specifically budget and revenue forecasting. This is live today. Users, or you guys, I was going to say you guys, but users can apply the same dynamic, the date range based forecasting logic used for cost to budget and revenue projections. So this is especially useful for GMP, for cost plus, reimbursable, and time and material projects. So to support this comes the addition of a new setting to turn on the new columns in the budget overview and edit mode. There's now a new bottom flyout for budget and or cost forecasting adjustments for viewing and processing. You can now generate a PCO or budget transfer directly from any kind of forecasting adjustment that you're doing. And then there's a new side forecast adjustment flyout with notes kind of a notes field for the documentation reasons for those forecasting adjustments. So this is a pretty cool update, and we're excited for this one. So from here, I'm going to hand it over to Alan, who's going to cover field collaboration.
Thank you, Lisa. My apologies. So jumping over to field collaboration, we're going to start off with forms. So this is back to the project management side on the mobile side in this context. So in forms, we have just kind of this quick update on a sync, the syncing workflow, and basically Autodesk has been building out multiple sync options for users so that we can take control of the data that we're downloading to the device, right? We don't necessarily need everything downloaded at all times, and what this lets you do is choose to bring along attachments and references for our active forms. So what this lets us do is just ensure that the access to the right information is available, whether we are online or offline. And it's just basically just a simpler way to improve the responsiveness and just focusing on what is live, what is still to be done, what the work needs to be worked on. All right, and kind of in a similar vein, as far as issues go, we probably have all seen this. Those push pens can get cluttered on our mobile web as well, but obviously also on the mobile interface. And what this can do is just kind of distract us, and basically it is just TMI. When we're out in the field, we want to get to the work that is relevant. So with this most recent release, we are able to hide issues automatically by default, so that when they're downloaded, but rather whenever we are opening the project and synchronizing, those closed issues will no longer automatically sync to your mobile device. And again, it just lets us have a cleaner experience, focusing on what is active, what is to be done, and yet staying on top of what work matters most. All right, so we have some new options here for viewing. And this is definitely something that some of our VDC folks and will appreciate, and our Navis users generally will appreciate for sure. So what we can do, basically what this is, what it involves, it allows us to connect the dots from our office to the field, and just office to shop to field context, where no matter what role or persona you are, where you're doing your work, you're going to be able to get the information and create those viewpoints and do the markups, etc., across the various platforms, or rather the web to mobile. So with this update, teams are able to see, select and select viewpoints that have been created in the web, and then what we can do is see a single panel, user interface panel, and we're able to view both Navis and ACC created viewpoints. So what this means is that you're able to bookmark basically your 3D model, save camera configurations, or rather camera settings and viewpoints, save those settings of sections, and basically whatever visibility overrides you've already created. And so what we can do is then access that and those saved views from anywhere. So we're really extending the capability of Navis over to ACC with some of that flexibility in Navis that we would really like to see in ACC. We can now do that. And so this is truly quite a leap to align across Navis, model coordination, really just generally the storage of docs environment, and also when we extend it out to our field teams over in Build. We can now access that same data set, those images or pictures, the viewpoints that are incredibly important, and it lets us communicate those to all of the stakeholder parties, whether they're, again, in the office or the field. One of the things that does matter, object colors do not, in model coordination, do not carry over. However, as we are saying, this bi-monthly release, this is something that's in the forefront of the, Autodesk's general mind, and definitely improvement there. We can imagine seeing that down the road. So basically, sections, tools, should say tooling states, or rather the section settings, those are not saved either, but ultimately that information we can see coming down the road. This is now for GA, open for the GA model viewer on the general release model viewer on the mobile, and it's available to us even for very large models. Ultimately, this includes a new native viewer, and it optimizes us to load only the visible portion of the model. For those who are familiar with Navisworks, kind of that occlusion situation where it only is loading what is available and visible to us at that moment. And this is available to us on iOS and Android. So again, ultimately, we're communicating the same information and images and so on across devices and across just the entire project team. And really, ultimately, this is a huge leap forward. It's going to help us to integrate these model workflows, those images that, again, spell images worth 1,000 words, right? So that's definitely something that is very appreciated by our end users. And we'll go now, moving on to assets, asset tracking, and handover. So with assets, there have been concerns where, if an asset gets deleted, as in other locations with sheets or files, you can go and retrieve deleted information. We can now go and retrieve that deleted information regarding assets. So that's a big step forward. Definitely want to be able to do that. We can retrieve this information for up to 60 days. And again, it just, hey, something was clicked and missed. Well, we can go capture that and bring it back into the project. Sheet collections for handover. When we have these sheet collections enabled, we now are able to see those within that handover package in the tree layout here. As you can see, we now see those collections and how they're broken out within essentially within your files location and sheets. That's how you would see those collections displayed for that handover. All right, and now I'm going to hand it back to Lisa for the platform enhancements.
Thank you, Alan. All right, so the first section or subsection I'm going to be focused on is document management. And for document management, we're really focused on enabling teams to manage document workflows in a more consistent manner and just more effectively on every project. And that's therefore going to support key industry standards and make sure that you guys feel confident about distributing documents across your entire project team. So the first release that we have pertains to files. Actually, I have two releases on this slide. So the first release that we're going to talk about is required attributes. And one of the biggest challenges in document control today is missing that metadata. You guys probably all are very familiar with that. So users can upload files without entering key attributes, which makes it harder for document controllers to manage information and then generate accurate reports off of that information. So while naming standards can help enforce file naming, they don't actually cover that those broader needs in regards to that metadata. So this new feature in the files tool is a direct result of feedback from you guys that both IMAGINiT, other partners, and Autodesk has compiled. And this gap has been a blocker for a lot of customers that are looking to adopt Autodesk Docs as their CDE or their common data environment. So now project admins can designate specific file attributes as things that are required in Autodesk Docs. When this setting is enabled on a folder, files must include those specific attributes before those files can even be uploaded. If any of those attributes are missing or if they've been entered incorrectly, the file is going to be put on hold and users are going to be prompted to input all of that correct metadata. So essentially they cannot fully upload a file without any of that specified required metadata. And what this is going to do is help to eliminate the need for those workarounds like review workflows just to enforce that metadata entry. It's also going to give teams more control over how files are managed, and it's going to give more flexibility to define what metadata is most important to your stakeholders in your organization. So this is going to help support stronger document control workflows. It's going to help with data governance. It's going to improve searching, filtering, and reporting. And overall, it's just going to strengthen the common data environment of your environment. And then the other release on this slide is the file settings layout restructure. So Autodesk has made a helpful update to the file settings layout in the files tool, and that release is hopefully going to make it easier for you guys to find and manage your settings. So the file settings page now has a cleaner tab layout and a new submenu layer. This helps to reduce clutter and makes it quicker to get to the right controls, especially when you're working across a lot of different projects or you're looking at a lot of different project templates. So now settings are grouped more clearly. There's a drop-down submenu with dedicated tabs for those specific settings pages. And then some tabs have even been renamed just for more clarification and clarity. This update is just going to help to make your experience more intuitive. It's going to help you to save time. It doesn't matter if you're making a new project or maybe you're uploading a project template that gets utilized for lots of different projects. Everything is going to be a lot easier for you to find and manage and sort through. And this is part of Autodesk's ongoing effort to make the ACC or the Autodesk Construction Cloud just feel overall more organized. Yes, and I think that is all that I wanted to talk about for files. So Alan, we can go to the next slide, which is around packages, specifically adding references from a package. So I have specifically heard a lot of this feedback on calls that I have with clients. A package is more than just a virtual folder. It's an object. It has specific relationships attached to it. I've also heard people say that, users shouldn't have to reference files individually or one by one. The packages should kind of carry all of that context within them. I completely agree with that information. So I'm really happy to see this release come to fruition. So with this release now, anyone that's managing the packages at your organization, they can now link packages directly to key project items just by using that reference picker. So that might be, grabbing issues for additional context or RFIs for more justification or forms or asset items, submittals, even other file packages, right? So what this means is that your teams are now just going to have better overall visibility and context across different workflows. Okay. And then the last release for document management pertains to the desktop connector, which hopefully all of you are familiar with. There's two releases that pertain to the desktop connector. The first is the data panel. So if you have just had dreams about wishing you could see the file properties and the details in your desktop connector while you're sleeping, this update is for you. So this new data panel in the desktop connector is going to give you instant access to cloud-based file properties right inside of your Windows File Explorer. So all you have to do is click on a file, and then that panel is going to show everything that you need to know. You don't need to open the file. You don't need to leave your workflow. So this is going to give you instant insights. You can see all the version history, the lock status, who last made any kind of modifications to that file, visual recognition, right? So you can look at thumbnails to help you identify files faster. I know that I have a very hard time remembering what just files based off their naming convention, so that thumbnail can be super helpful. This is also going to help to streamline your workflow, so now you don't have to jump in between your Windows File Explorer and the browser, and then just overall faster browsing, so you can quickly evaluate files when you're just looking for that specific information. And then the second release for Desktop Connector is on-demand file processing. So Autodesk has made a change to how files are processed for viewing when they're uploaded to Autodesk Docs via the Desktop Connector, and it's really just focused on giving teams more control. So right now, every file that's uploaded through the desktop connector is automatically processed for viewing, even if it's just a draft or it's a work in progress document. That, you know, slows things down because not everything in there is relevant and needed right now. And that also just helps to clutter the queue with files that, again, just are not ready. So with this update, processing becomes on demand. You get to decide when a file is ready to be reviewed, either by triggering it in the desktop connector or by letting Autodesk Docs process it when you open the file. So this has started rolling out in phases. If you have specific questions around this and its development and kind of how it's being released in those phases, you can certainly reach directly out to me. You don't need to do anything on your end. Once your account has kind of been, if you already utilize the desktop connector, once your account is included, you'll just see those new options automatically for you. Okay. All right, so that is document management. And then the last area of just the overall platform releases is around project standardization. So in project standardization, we're looking at giving teams the tools that they need to better streamline their project setup, create standard components across an entire account or environment, and then easily collaborate and share project documentation. So the first area we're looking at is Bridge, and this release is an email alert when a Bridge invite is accepted. So project teams using Bridge often ask, and I know this because I hear this often, like, did the people that I invite, they accept the invite? Until now, there's not really been an easy way to have visibility into this without checking manually or going to that person and confirming that they accepted the invite. This impacts project admins because those folks, and if you're on here, you know, are responsible for setting up Bridge to connections between projects. So we don't have confirmation. We're all just kind of left guessing, and that's going to help to slow down the collaboration and add a lot of unnecessary follow-up that we need to manually do. That uncertainty is now gone because the moment an invite is accepted and the Bridge connection is created, the sender, so the person that initiated that Bridge invite, they're going to get a confirmation email. They don't need to do anything else, right? So this is just going to help to close the loop and help to start build trust within those Bridge workflows. All right. And then the last release that we have is around project templates. And this is for sample templates in the project template list page. So starting a new ACC project from scratch can be a little bit overwhelming unless you're working with IMAGINiT and we're helping you with your implementation. But it can, right? If you're doing this on your own, building those projects out from scratch can just be a little cumbersome. But we Autodesk are making that first step a whole lot easier. So instead of digging through account admin settings, users can now easily access ready-to-use templates tailored to different roles, industries, and use cases right in the project template list page. So these templates are going to help users kick off projects faster with less guesswork, learn best practices, and standardize their processes from day one. This update is not just about providing better visibility to these templates, it's about providing a faster path to value, making it easier for all of you to comprehend how ACC just kind of fits within your workflows and why it's worth investing in. I still recommend, project specific and organization specific templates because that's always going to speak to your business as a whole. But I do think these templates can be super, super effective if, ACC is brand new to you and you're just kind of like, well, I don't really know exactly what we need our project to look like, but I know that we're a general contractor and I know that we're in North America. So maybe I'll just, see what industry standards say around what a project looks like for that persona. So can definitely be super helpful. And those are all of our releases today. I know Lori kind of prefaced our call by saying we would probably be over at 35 after, and she was.
Thanks, Lisa, and thanks, Alan. And again, if you are ever wondering if you're missing out on anything, our website also on our events page will also have upcoming webcasts if you just want to check there. But again, anybody that's registered today is going to be getting future communications. So with that, thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Alan. I'll see you guys all in April. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone.